The election of 1800 set two precedents in American history. It was the first election in which the press played a big role. And for the first time in presidential politics, power was peacefully shifting from one political party to another. In this highly contentious election, the founding party of the nation, the Federalists, had been defeated, and the popular leader of a new political party was moving into the White House. Number 3, Thomas Jefferson, Democratic Republican, 1801 to 1809, 58 years old, from Virginia. Thomas Jefferson was the first president inaugurated in Washington.
On the day of his inauguration, Thomas Jefferson walked to the unfinished Capitol to deliver his inaugural address. In one of the most important statements ever made by a president in any inaugural address, he tells the assembled group, "We are all Federalists. We are all Republicans."
Jefferson believed the Federalists had put too much power in the central government. He vowed to reverse that.
Well, it's the old adage, of course, a Jeffersonian adage, that government is best which governs least, except when you're elected to office. Elegant home in all of America, Monticello, is hardly a man of the people. But on the other hand, he has this ability to connect and to make this pretense, to make this image of this Democrat with a small d.
To help spin this image, Jefferson adopted a casual tone for protocol and official behavior at the president's mansion.
It was said that if you went to the White House, quite often Mr. Jefferson himself would open the door.
Jefferson also ended the formal state dinners established by Washington and continued by Adams. Instead, he hosted informal supper parties, where guests could sit anywhere they pleased. In 1802, a tabloid writer of the day reported Jefferson's alleged affair with Sally Hemings, one of his slaves.
He's mentioned by name by James Callender, and that's the first time Sally Hemings' name appears in the newspaper.
Jefferson skillfully managed the scandal by doing nothing.
Thomas Jefferson never responded to any allegations, any accusations of his relationship with Sally Hemings or with anyone else. Jefferson simply ignored it.
Her real name was Sarah Hemings, and Sally is her nickname. We don't know very much about Sally Hemings, but the thing that people always talked about, the people who referred to her, referred to what she looked like.
We just have a few fragmentary references to her appearance, that she was good-looking, that she had long, dark hair down her back, and that's about it.
Sally was just an infant in 1774 when Jefferson inherited her and 135 other slaves after the death of his father-in-law, John Wales. In 1787, Sally comes from Monticello and works in Jefferson's Parisian household. 2 years later, she is pregnant with his child.
So she's about 16 years old at that point.
Jefferson wants to take her back to Virginia, but Sally resists. The law is different in France, and she is under no obligation to obey her master there.
Jefferson had been exposed to the fact that slavery did not exist in Paris.
Desperate, Jefferson makes a bargain that will change both of their lives. Return with him to Virginia, and whatever children they have together will be given their freedom at age 21.
And so she comes home.
The romance started in Paris between Jefferson and Sally will last for 37 years, until the end of his life. They produce at least 6 children, though only 4 will survive.
The Jefferson-Hemings story was whispered from one generation to the next for nearly 200 years by descendants of Sally Hemings, many of whom passed for white.
It's been an interesting journey for me because it started out when I was a kid, me standing up in class and saying, Thomas Jefferson is my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, and being so happy and proud to brag about it, you know, when we're studying the presidents. But then when the teacher says, sit down and stop telling lies, and all the kids laugh at you.
By the mid-1990s, the laughing had stopped. Historians, even at Monticello, were becoming believers. Television reporter Shannon Lanier is a direct descendant of Sally Hemings through her son Madison Hemings.
In 1804, Thomas Jefferson was overwhelmingly re-elected. Yet he found little joy during his second term.
Jefferson is a very sensitive man. He hates the criticism that he gets. And his second term becomes hell to him. He feels as if he's in prison.
By 1808, Thomas Jefferson was tormented by migraine headaches. The presidency had aged him considerably.
Thomas Jefferson had been in and out of consciousness for 2 days. And on the morning of the 4th, I can hardly tell this without breaking up.
He knew that 1826 was going to be the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and that to him was such a fundamental shaping moment in his lifetime accomplishments, in the sort of beginnings of the nation. That day really brought home what they had actually done.
He had been very ill for several days, and he was clearly clinging to life to make it to that day.
He was ill, he was dying, and he kept coming into consciousness and saying, "Is it the 4th yet?"
His grandson-in-law came in and touched him on the shoulder and reported that it was the 4th.
And on the 4th, he let go and died.
Jefferson came to hate the presidency so much that he left it off his gravestone. Yet his achievements remain unparalleled in American history. He took the oath of office intending to change the power of the presidency. And indeed, he did.